Hello, everyone. How you doing? Wow, voice crack. Hello, my name is Blair Cinta, but you probably know that if you're here. But maybe you don't. Nice to meet you. Okay, today I will be discussing controlling snare drum ring, which can be really important when we get a microphone on it, especially something that's this close to the head. And of course, it can be important for live aspects too if we're unmiked. But in studio situations or live situations, club, big space, um, often we want to have some snare drum ring, but not too much so it doesn't overtake the mix, or maybe this front of house guy needs to control it, or the mix engineer needs to control it. And sometimes we want some ring, we want that character in our snare, but sometimes we need to be able to learn to control it. So we get some of what we want and some of what we don't need. All right. Um, if you like what I teach here, you can check out my 5 fundamentals to studio drumming. Pinned there is a pin at the top, URL right there. 5 fundamentals to studio drumming. It is a free lesson. 5 things that I work on consistently, have been working on for years. Balance in your playing, working on time, all kinds of things. So it's a free lesson. You can get it at the URL right there. All right, so let's dive in. So this right here, I believe this is a Ludwig Pioneer 1965. It's a 6 Ludwig drum. It's got a lot of ring. It's got a lot of tone. So it sounds like this. It's wide open right here. Okay, so it's a really great sounding drum, and especially in a jazz context, that would be beautiful. But let's say we want to use this drum for recording, and this is not ideal, but it is basically the tone that we want. Okay. Um, First thing I try these days is Big Fat Snare Drum does make these really great. I'm blanking on the name of these actually, but these rings. Okay, and they're really great for me. I find probably 75% of the time this really works for me. I am an endorser, I will say that, uh, but I'm not being paid to endorse them here. So here's one ring, just goes around the edge. It's only about this thing's only about, I don't know, I guess about an inch, maybe slightly less wide. And now the drum sounds like this. Okay, pretty drastically different sound, right? Um, and way more dry. But I think you can probably hear still has some ring to it. Okay, again, which maybe that's some character that you want to retain for the sound that you're going for. But if we want it more dead, another ring can help. And this one is cut out of an old head. This is a 13-inch actually, so it's smaller. We're covering up more of the head. It's more dead. Okay, so now it's completely dead, and obviously a completely different tonality than what we started with. Right? Okay, so sorry. That's the first way I approach controlling ring. Okay, the second way I approach ring is with gaff tape, and gaff tape is super effective. I like it more than moon gel because one, it's less expensive. Two, it doesn't get all nasty and it's easy to change. But they do similar things. Part of the trick with gaff tape, hi Cody. Um, Part of the trick, so this is what I do with gaff tape. I take a little piece like this. This is about 2 inches, tear it off, and then wrap it backwards, okay, onto itself. So it's a piece like this. All right. And then according to how much you want to dampen the drum, and this is really important and effective, is how close you place it to the edge. All right, so I'm going to give you a few examples. So I'm going to put this right on the edge. Drum sounds like this right now, and I'll tell you where I'm putting it. So it's going to be right on the edge right now. Here's wide open. All right, here's right on the edge. Okay, so it's shortening the decay for sure. The tone is basically the same, which is pretty cool. Where if you just want to control it a bit, but you still want that character, you may find your engineer may find some sanity, uh, whether you're the engineer or someone else is, in just putting it right on the edge. Okay, so let's move in. Let's move it in. So this is now there's about an inch of space, inch and a half of space between the rim and where it is now. Significantly shorter, right? Significantly shorter, but again, we're still retaining the tone. It's not quite as drastic as a ring on the whole drum. Hey, right on. AC, AG, AJ. I can't read that here. All right, we're going to go in another inch. Now, this is where it gets interesting because you don't want to hit it but now it's what? Let's see. It's 2 inches off the center. Okay, so now it's here, and I don't often put a piece of tape here, but decay is basically gone, right? We still have a bit of a like a tone, a ring, more like a honk. Let's call it a honk to differentiate what we're talking about here. So there's no decay, but we are still getting a honk. And let's compare that to, let's say, this. Right. So there's a lot of characters happening between, full ring, like rings, 2 rings, or putting a piece of gaff tape in certain places on the drum. And placement is really important. You could also, of course, place things near the edge, place tape near the edge, and put them in different parts of the drum. Sometimes I'll have 4 in different parts of the drum, do it just depending on what I want. But the closer you move it to the center, the more it's doing. So you want to be careful about killing the tone also. Like you may, you got to be careful about that. Okay, next. The good old handkerchief or tea towel, right? Now, this is my personal opinions is I like gaff tape more. And I was just saying this earlier. One, it's cheaper. This roll is like what, $20, and this will last me a year, right? I feel like it travels better. I mean, I've literally had pieces of gaff tape on snare drums for like I think maybe even years. You know what I mean? So I think this lasts a long time. It's super easy to discard. It doesn't melt in the sun. If you're ever in a sunny thing and you've ever had a piece of moon gel melt into your head, it's really nasty. And it just makes a lot of sense to me. And I try to get weird colors in case I take this to a studio. I don't buy black, so I know it's mine. because black gaff tape will disappear to anybody. Um, so yeah, neon pink, neon green, yellow, camouflage. So that's why I like gaff personally. Okay, towel. Okay, towel again is kind of the most extreme version of all this because we can obviously go full towel like this. Full Ringo, right? Which is great. That's a certain tone. We can fold it and have it halfway over the drum. Again, I would, and here's another reason: if you have gaff already, you will tape it in the spot that you want, and then the towel doesn't fall off. So this is really dead. The drum is really not resonating at all at this point, or much at all, and the head is not really resonating. So you're completely changing the tone of the drum. Um, Again, so you have to be careful about how much you're going to put this on here because you're really affecting the tonality, and you don't want to kill the sound. Maybe you do want to, but you have to be careful. Again, and then just fold it in half again. Put it on part of the edge. Pretty beefy sound. When I hit the rim, you can hear that bong honk ring. A little bit. But again, I tape it on there. So sometimes if I'm in a situation where I don't have a ring, like a big fat snare drum ring like this, I'll use tape and a gaff tape, and I'll put this on the edge, and I'll tape it on here like this, and just find that sweet spot of where it sits enough. If it's less than that, I'll probably take it off. But the towel is the very extreme thing. But if you want something in the studio that's super dead, like super dead, a towel, because it covers a lot of area, right? And then you get into this critical thing where should you use rim shots with it or not? Because you're basically killing the tone. You're killing the resonation of the head, which helps vibrate the drum. And in my opinion, the more dead it is, the nastier it sounds with the rim shot. Nasty could be good, nasty could be bad, but you want to be careful with those choices. Yeah, Declan, your question about tuning the bottom head. I tune my bottom snare heads really high. Let's pull this up right here. Yeah, so you probably can't see that. It's pretty tight. I try not to. I don't want to over crank it, but I definitely tune it high because it's really serving two purposes. It is helping some tonality with the drum, of course. It is helping, but we're also talking about snare. Wow, I'm blanking. The touch, like how the snares are reacting with the bottom head, and to me, it just makes the most sense where you're going to get the most dynamic dynamics out of having it pretty tight. And if it's too loose, it's just you're never going to get that super crispy thing, right? And with my experience, I mean, I can get a crazy range from any drum from low to high just with the top head, right? But I will notice that like if one lug is out on the bottom, the drum is not quite right. So sometimes if I'm tuning the top head and it's just like it's not coming together for some reason, I check the bottom lugs, and it's usually the one where my left hand is landing the closest to that, and that one has come loose, and it really changes for the worse the tonality of the drum. Right. So I like to do them pretty high. I don't. I do want it to be able to resonate with the drum, so not so high that it's choking the drum. And yes, you have to be careful of that. That would be like marching style. Yeah, I'm not here to rail against moon gel, but it's just what I like. All right. Any other questions? People who came in late, I'm happy to answer questions. Gear them up now. This will go. I'll be going a few more minutes. Gear them up now. If anyone's new to seeing me on here, I have pinned URL at the top. Five fundamentals to studio drumming. It's a free lesson. 5 really good things to work on over time. It's a free lesson for me. Check it out. Hi, Michael. Less honk with less honk or ring. No, I don't really notice that. So this drum in particular has 6 lugs, and this is it wide open. Right, tons of ring. I think I could pull out a drum with 10 lugs and it would ring the same. I think rims have a lot to do with it. Die-cast hoops, die-cast hoops help cut down on ring. I think any drum that's made well, whether it's wood or metal, should probably ring and have like a fair amount of it. Obviously, bearing edges have a bit to do with it too. But no, I don't find that. Weird ringing metallic tones from the snare wires. Not that I know of. It could be the placement in the beds. If you feel like they're reacting oddly, maybe it's not set quite right. Or maybe there's something with tension on either side that's not quite laying on the drum flat. If you're getting those weird things, or maybe they're really crappy snare wires. I think they'd have to be pretty crappy to get that, but that's possible too. AC, AE, sorry, AE. Yep. Yeah. So no, I've not really noticed that. I do get snare wires that break once in a while. There's one hanging off, and that will have a very odd thing going on, and I just go in and I clip those with wire clippers. I don't change the whole snare. I can roll with a couple less snares on there and just clip it. Yeah. Okay. A few other questions. Okay, Michael. Yeah. Anyone else has questions? Please hit me up. It can be on this topic. It can be off topic too. Happy to answer a few more. It's funny, Michael. I never think about internal mufflers. There's one on here. It's effective, but like tonally, it since it pushes the head in one spot, I always feel like it messes with the tuning a bit. It's definitely not my first instinct to reach for an internal muffler ever. So no, I don't use them often, and I think part of it is because just with my experience, you can even in here. I guess if you touch it just a hair. That's effective a bit, but not usually my go-to thought ever. The higher the tuning, the less intrusive muffling is needed. The lower, the more muffling it needs. Yeah, I would agree with that, John. The lower you start to get those weird honky overtones. Um, and you have to dampen it more. I don't know, like, physics-wise why that is to be, but yes, I also have to dampen the drum when it's tuned lower, dampen the drum more to really get that, presumably fat, super low dead thing. Takes more weight to, like, just hold that flabby head together. Um, Someone with some more science background can lay that out in the comments below next time or after this. Yeah, sure. Okay. Yeah. So higher tuning on internal mufflers for higher tuning. Sure. Again, I feel like it messes with the tuning of the head. Um, and for me personally, it's just never that's never the sound I want. It's like, oh, that's on there a little bit. That's just what I was looking for. That never seems to work. Whatever. That's me. Right. The wider waves, it's flabbier. It's just harder to control. Right. Exactly. Yeah. Yep. Anything else? Anybody got any more thoughts on controlling snare ring or not? Anyone? Um, all right. I appreciate everybody hanging out. There's a little coffee tip thing if anybody wants to drop that for dropping information, but no biggie. Um, and what else? What else? Oh, 5 fundamentals to studio drumming. If you don't have it, a few more people just came on. If anybody has questions on this topic, I'll hang out for another minute or two and happy to wait for some questions. Um, let's throw this towel on here because it's fun and it sounds good. Oh, let's talk about tea towels. Let's talk about towels, right? Thickness of the towel is super important. Not too thick, right? I find that handkerchiefs are kind of like the exact right thing if you're into the tea towel thing. You can always fold it in half, but you don't want too much because you want to be able to lay it on here and still have some tonality from the drum and not kill it. If it's much thicker than this, it's just it's like hitting a towel, not hitting a towel on a drum. How do I use different hoops? I'm I don't go crazy with hoops. I do find that my favorite hoops are die cast, like on my favorite drums. Um, but usually the hoop that comes with the drum, I'm fairly happy with it. Uh, if I'm gonna get a new drum, I usually ask for die cast, because I'm typical. Part of it is because typically I'm not. I don't use ringy snare drums much, right? So I want some control of diecast, trying to dampen that a bit. But yeah, again, triple flange, whatever. Like I'm usually happy with the hoop that comes with the drum, unless it's super crappy. But again, and there's something sonically for me about diecast that I really enjoy. Yeah, different snare wires is the question from Declan. I use Canopus snare wires. I do feel like they're really good. I'm an endorser for Canopus. Um, they seem to work. I know there's super expensive snare wires and others. Part of me thinks it's the drum and how it reacts to that. Um, I do like 48 strand on certain drums, also like on my hitmaker drum. It's got the 48 strand. I really love it, and it really works on certain drums, but obviously others not. So yes, there is a quality thing. I'm not super knowledgeable about it, but I do find that like the Canopus snare wires are pretty nice. All right, so we got some opinions on snare wires there. Pure Sound, Fat Cat. I don't know Fat Cat at all, but check those out if you care. Do I change mics for different snare tunings? No, no, not at all. My feeling on that would be more about, first of all, getting the drum, to sound how you want it in the room, and secondly, mic placement over mic choice. I feel like a 57 or a biodynamic like this biodynamic M201 is really going to cover. I mean, it should be able to capture your snare tone. Of course, some people like to use uh, two mics, one compressed, one uncompressed, and blend those together. Some people will mic the shell and blend that, but no, I'm not going to change mics based on tuning. I would change mics based on vibe. But again, 90 times out of 100, I'm just going to go with this or 57. And the drum is really going to dictate how we do it. And then, of course, mixing, which mics I'm using on the kit, right? That's really, to me, where it's coming from, not so much the snare mic itself. Cool. We good? I think we're good here today. All right. Right on. All right. Again, there's the little super chat, whatever thing down there if you want to leave some coffee money. Otherwise, thanks for coming to hang out and asking questions. These are always great questions. This little community that comes and asks questions here is always great. And I see a lot of you same guys. So I appreciate that. Yeah, that's it. Controlling snare ring. All right. Hope everybody has a good weekend. I'll see you soon.